I would just like to request that we stray away from our 3-minute rule, because I know this is very important. Mr. McKee, who's probably one of the largest property owners on the port, and probably one of the longest operating port facilities that we have. I don't want to be here all night, but at the same time.
Yeah. Thank you, Chair.
If we could, please.
Commissioner, thanks for holding the work session. Had I known that there were going to be other people up here advocating this, I probably would have asked to have that opportunity too, but that's okay. I guess that's the way it is. So many things I wanted to address, and I don't want to keep you here all evening either. But let's, and I'm not going to go line by line here, but in truly Mickey's words rang so true when he closed by saying, "I know just enough to get us in trouble." And that truly is the case. The Port of Detroit is totally different than the Port of Muskegon, and I think John will agree with that. It's a different makeup with operators. The Maroon family's involved in that. They've got public ownership and private ownership, and a whole lot more traffic than we have. And they're where they are geographically, they're near manufacturing plants, better traffic lanes. It's a whole different animal. I understand why they want to amend this, but for it to, and remember, this is going to be statewide, and this isn't a one-size-fits-all type situation. And I would ask us to take a step back and get everyone on board, including the two port owners, active port owners. Consumers is no longer active, to get on board with the bill. We're not opposed to a port authority or a port district or a port something or other, but we are opposed when you can use public funds and form a public-private relationship with another company and compete with us. If we can address that, I think we've gone a long way. This doesn't address this. This sets us up for that. And why they took away the guarantee for the port operators to be on this board is beyond me. Especially considering Muskegon, there is no public dock except for the New Cross Ferry dock, which, by the way, Mark, we were fine with it. That was at the Mark dock. Remember, we hosted them the first year. Can you do it? Sure, we can do it. We'll be the backup. Great place. County Heritage Landing, no problem at all. That's a better place. It looks better than the Mark dock. Got it. Worked with you, okay? And that's what we want to do. We want to work with you. We don't want to have this shoved down our throat. And by the way, we're not the only ones now. Articles are coming out. Other dock owners around the state are becoming aware of this. It's no wonder that it passed 98-9 in the House, and now all of a sudden, the Senate committee, it's not even going to be passed this session. People are understanding it, just as this crowd, just as Mickey's starting to understand it, just as you guys are starting to understand it, and this gentleman, Mr. Baker, is it? I doubt very much that the people that you're associated with understand this bill. And those that are in favor of it are almost exclusively, there are some exceptions, almost exclusively government and quasi-government agencies. Sure, it's more for them. It's, if they get to expand their powers, why not? But it's at the expense of businesses, and you're going to scare businesses away from Muskegon, and you're going to, people aren't going to want to invest when they're fearful that the government is going to get together with another private company and compete against you, and that's what we need to address. A couple other things too, the definition. Mickey mentioned something about the water, it having to be on the water or something to that effect. That's the problem with this definition. It can be anywhere. It can be the middle of the county. It can be a farm. It doesn't have to be on the water. It's not water related. Look at that definition. That's one of the problems. The other thing too, if the taxing, okay, if you want to point to the Headley Amendment, why is the city is able to just recently go out and levy taxes for their lighting, okay? There's ways around that. So if you want to assure that the taxpayers need to pass a millage or need to vote on this, put it in the bill. It's a couple sentences, put it in the bill. Worse than that, it's been pointed out to me, is the ability to borrow. Go ahead, borrow. Go ahead, borrow. And when that thing sits there and they're going by, they're going to look at all the county commissioners, all the politicians, and you guys borrowed. We owe on that thing, and it's just sitting there, which gets to the capacity. guys, if you're gonna go through this much energy, and if you're gonna spend money, spend it on the current docks. What are you doing? Spend it on somebody else's property. And at least assure that it'll be spent on the current docks first. And by the way, I did talk with somebody today. There are ways around that, and there's a mechanism whereby this person's very bright, used to drafting things, and there is a mechanism that we can put into place where if there is a project that's proposed, the current dock owners get first crack at it. And he explained it, he wrote it out, I've got it, and it was a little rough, but why not, while I'm saying is let's take a step back, and why not think about mechanisms like that? Let's take a step back on so many things in this bill. As I said, the ability to borrow, the taxes, the definition, the makeup. There's a lot of things to step back on, and Commissioner Hughes did point out there's nothing to prevent the County of Grand Rapids and the City of Muskegon to get together and form a port authority and tax the city residents, both of Grand Rapids and the City of Muskegon, and bypass the county. So you talk about local control, I'm not sure if that's the case. The other thing too, the Grand Rapids folks ought to realize is because of the definition in here, they can set up the government can get together with a private developer and put up a hotel wherever they want in the S-curve to compete with wherever. And as I said, people need to get, sunlight needs to be shown on this bill. And thank God it's doing that. Mackinac Center today had an article on it. Detroit News is going to run an article on it. There's people are waking up. I want to address one other thing too, and it's the as I said, the competition portion is what we're mostly concerned about. There should be some guarantees in here that whatever is set up, whatever is done with public taxpayer money, won't compete. Speaking of which, I've run on here. I don't want to keep you guys, but no one has pointed out to me, and I've asked many people, what can the Port Authority, what kind of funds can the Port Authority access besides levying taxes? What kind of funds can they access that Windsor-Dick, the county, or the city, or the state can't already access? No one can answer that question. There's no need for this Port Authority to access more funds. Maybe there is an answer out there. I'd love to hear it, because any type of funding, grants, blah, 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 you can do it right now, folks. And Mickey was wrong. John was right. You can form a Port Authority right now. Getting back to what Aaron said about this Martin study. Okay, fine. She said, her words, to promote and basically aid the current port owners. That's what that study proposed. And you can do that, market and aid the port owners. You can do that anyway. Let's do that. What do we need this funding mechanism for money to compete with us? Let's do that. Let's market it. I would tell you that it's a waste of money, but God bless them. If that's what you guys want to do, and if that's what they want to do, they want to market the heck out of it, go for it. That's great. So, in closing, I'd love it if anyone would ask any questions, please. I answered them all?
For me personally, I've had a chance to sit down and talk with you a couple times.
Yeah.
So I've kind of already asked questions.
Yeah. So,
And I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you.
pardon me?
Commissioner Hagan.
Yes, Commissioner.
I don't want to put words in your mouth because I know you've thought about this, but as I listen to it, I hear I'm opposed to a free market. Now, I know that's not what you mean. You want an equal footing,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
okay?
We don't want government money
I
to
think what this is enabling legislation. But until we form something locally, it doesn't happen. And I think that's where this needs to do, is make it fit for Muskegon County, not a statewide entity. I mean, I think to say this is an end deal is ahead of ourselves.
Okay. And we can do this now, though. Remember, we can do this now. So if that's the case, then your administrator went and supported this, registered support, and testified on behalf of it. If that's the case, then why don't you stay neutral on it instead of supporting it? We want protections now, no offense, because we don't know who the commissioners are going to be. We don't know if they're going to change the bylaws. We don't know if the bylaws are going to have a supermajority. We're working on this now to make sure that everyone plays by the rules, so we keep our noses clean, so you guys keep your noses clean, whoever the commissioners are after you, same thing with the city. Let's do it now instead of, I've heard too much of the trust thing, and that's a whole other part of this story. I've heard too much of the trust thing. No, we don't trust you. Sorry to do a Ted Fricano, but that's true.
Commissioner Wu.
Yes. We were all excited about establishing the court, but I was not aware of how much knowledge you may have about this, and is it too late now to sit down and talk about those areas?
Absolutely not. That's what we've been trying to do. We've wanted to sit down, but this was rushed through the House, no testimony except him and Aaron and one other party. The private entities didn't know about this. And absolutely, we'd love to sit down and we'd love to form something. There is something, absolutely, we can do something to help the current dock owners. And you know what, as I said, if something comes along and it makes sense somewhere else and doesn't compete with us, let's go for it. I love that, that's great. But the other thing too that we ought to consider is, and this whole other line of thinking is to really, are we going to have a successful port here? No, we won't. And I can give you names, and if, almost all you need is common sense. Look at our geography, look at the lack of manufacturing, look at the traffic lanes. The ones in Grand Rapids, with standardized containerization, that's why we don't have the ships coming in like we did in the 40s and 50s. Because the 60s was the beginning of taking off of standardized containerization. They put them on rail to the East Coast beats us every time. There are some exceptions, windmill parts. Yeah, bigger, you can't put those on containers. We're not going to be the bustling port that people dream of. As I said, it's going to be a white elephant. But you know what, sometimes, and as I said to somebody, let them do it. Let them do it. It's going to be really embarrassing. And go ahead, if you guys want to do it, go ahead. It'll be really embarrassing. Here's the interesting thing. It's not going to hurt us because we average less than one commercial cargo ship a year. Okay, so it's not going to hurt us. So you actually say, well, why are you opposed to it? Because I'm afraid down the road it could hurt us. A project comes along, perfect for the Mark Dock, perfect for the consumer's property. Well, wait a minute, it's a private-public entity over the consumer's party. Let's bring it over there. Mark Dock, hey, we've been paying taxes. We've been here since 1933. We can take this thing. So that's what concerns us right now. Hey, knock yourself out, guys. Build your dock. God bless you. It's going to be a real embarrassment. So, getting to my other point, I see Kathy Evans and Mark Evans here. Have we thought about moving the campground over there? Have we thought about a boat launch? That's at the mouth of the river, environmentally sensitive, ecologically sensitive. Do we want to transform ourselves into a boat fishing mecca? I mean, maybe that's the best way to go. A green space, instead of hardening the shores concrete, how about softening them? How about promoting that? How about making Muskegon the fishing capital of the state? I'm just saying, those are things we should think of. The other thing I've been talking to Jonathan Wilson about, much more real, but a lot of work, is a shipbuilding or ship repair facility. We're very unique in that respect, in that we've got two operators, ourselves and Andre. Between us control about 10 or 12 ships. Where those go in the winter for their work, for their layup, and where they go every 5 years, which is usually a couple $1 million per ship, we can control where they go. So a partnership with us, something like that might make sense. You talk about jobs. Marinette, 500 to 600 full-time, good paying jobs. You talk about working with MCC. You talk about skilled trades. My goodness, if jobs is what you want, that's the way to go, rather than a cargo facility that maybe will have 20 people there. And probably, if we get the Grand Rapids folks involved, a pass-through, and everything's going to Grand Rapids. It won't anyway, for reasons I explained. It's crazy. You come up with a company, I'm listening to this, I'm sorry I'm going nuts. You come up with a company or two or three or four, and do you know a cargo ship contains 3,500 units per ship? Anyway,
Max.
there's my frustration. Okay. Yes, sir.
Let me share something here, because I've been really thinking about this a lot more, and especially what I heard today is really important. What we're trying to do is change an existing law so that we can work with all of the ancillary businesses that comes with this port. It's not just about the port itself too. And that's my concern, is that, you know, Muskegon has a great port, period. You know, the whole thing is all of that lake out there, including that big channel. And when you look at the possibilities, I mean, you're saying 1% now, but if we get a port authority, we build on it, and next thing you know, you're up to 10%, you just went up 100% in what you've been doing. And I think that you're right. I think what we need to do is look at this as a state bill, and then what we need to do is concentrate on how we're gonna build this Muskegon Authority, if we decide to do that. We haven't even done it yet, so we're not really doing it yet. But if that's what we decide to do, then I think that we all need to sit down, and I do think that with your time here and your, you know, dedication to Muskegon County, you should be able to have an important say on that, and we should look at what we can do to protect you. But that has to be hashed out together as a community, and I think that's one of the biggest backdraws to this community, is we have to continue to work together. And what we do is we throw up walls and we shut each other out, and then everything breaks down. And we can't let this one thing break this entire community down. Like I said, there's a lot of things. We're not just talking about Muskegon County either. We're also talking about hopefully building a regional relationship that should work and could work, so that we can bring in things around that can actually help enhance this community even more, and hopefully support our surrounding community. But I think it takes time, but I think this piece right here is important to the ancillary business, because otherwise we lock them out. You know, because we could start an authority, but we lock everything else out still, because the bill's not changed. And I think if we look at that piece, and then look at how we want to develop our community for it, that is what's, I think, where we really need to sit down and hatch this thing out.
I agree. It's certainly caused divisiveness, and if it goes through, that will continue, because we'll continue to punch. We were getting along really well. I thought so, and I think the county and the city would agree. And this is called divisiveness. I do believe that the right place is one of the drivers. Detroit's the driver, but for different reasons. And as I said, this isn't a one size, and it shouldn't be a one size fit all bill. So just with what I've been saying, let's take a step back. Let's craft this thing so everybody's on board, and I really believe it can be done. And instead of pushing this through, forcing it down our throats, taking out language that protected us, okay, and then saying this bill is to protect us, it's for our benefit, getting on talk shows and saying it's to benefit the port owners, and I get on and say, but we don't want it, we don't need it. It's nuts. So I agree with you. Let's all sit down, but let's bring in Kathy Evans and some people that care about the watershed. Let's bring in somebody that can talk a little bit about ship repair, shipbuilding, maybe Andre. Let's bring them in. Let's include a wider circle, rather than I'm meeting with one other property owner, Ron Verplank, and then it's all quasi and government officials. Of course they want it. So at any rate, let's bring in others. That's what I'm asking.
I've met with Max. I certainly understand some of your concerns, and I understand the county's concerns, and I also understand Detroit's concerns. I mean, this is a bill that they need some changes to. Maybe we need some changes to it too, but I'm also involved with a 13-county region that every one of those counties stepped up and said, we think this is a good idea. We might have something that we can help send through the port. I mean, these counties are willing to step up and support us in Muskegon and our port in driving business and driving to our port. So I have to really look forward to that. And I will say Wimser-Dick is really a large part of that 13-county region, and Kathy Evans is part of Wimser-Dick. She's already been involved to as big an extent as she could be right now. She's one of the presenters when we brought this through the very first time to get the port, and the port was the #1 project picked by those 13 counties, and Kathy was one of the presenters. I mean, it just, I see both sides of this in a way, but I really think you're looking at this so single-mindedly that all you can see is maybe something hurting you. And we're looking at it by going out into our community and maybe bringing in business or asking our businesses to start using our ports. We're not looking at it as adding more ports. We don't need more ports. We're trying to increase what we have in our ports, and you're acting like we can't do anything. You've never even given us a chance we might be able to. Now we've got 13 other counties behind us that really want to help.
I can't disagree. May I address this? And I can't disagree with you. We all want, and including ourselves, we want something for the port. We want betterment of the port. But let's do it smartly. I bet, because I'm pretty sure very few of you knew the ins and outs of this bill, okay, until recently. I'll bet anything those 13 other counties, the officials there, have no clue what's in this bill. All the Port Authority bill sounds good, let's do it. I'll bet they have no clue what's going on in here. And even so, it's not them that'll be taxed. It's the city of Muskegon or the county of Muskegon residents that'll be taxed. So
Only if they choose.
Only if they choose to.
only if they choose,
Only if they choose to.
correct. If you go ahead with this, exactly. So I'm all on board. And as I said, a part of me says, you know what? Go ahead, do it, build your other dock, stick around in politics for a while. But anyway, no. So I disagree with you as far as it's us against all of you. We want something for the port. I'm not sure if Kathy is a good representative for the for sort of the green space idea of the port. Her boss is Aaron, but maybe not. So maybe we should bring someone else in, maybe someone that's not tied to Windsor Dick, and at least, or let Kathy present. I've never heard her present something like that. I think she's been thinking about it. I think she might have a concept. In fact, I talked to her about it. But let's air that out. Let's air out the shipbuilding. Why are we so concerned about creating a port that brings cargo in? It ain't going to happen. Go ahead, waste your money.
Max, we appreciate that, and we want to keep the discussion strictly about the bill. We don't want to get into personal attacks in here. We appreciate your opinion. We're glad to have you here, but I think the hour is running late, and I don't know if anybody else has anything that they want to add to this from public comment.
Sir?
John.
Thank you. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Good afternoon.